Hi, I'm Sean. I make things, I break things, sometimes on purpose, and sometimes a cool guitar comes out. Hey there. Sorry I don't have an introductory catchphrase yet. We're working on that, one thing at a time. Because today, we've got a kind of involved process to talk about. Some of you may recognize what you see on the workbench here. Lye, DC power supply, some acid, some baking soda, rubber gloves, a whole bunch of distilled water on the other bench over there. We're going to try anodizing. You could call it at-home anodizing, but this is a full workshop now. This is almost professional. I've built a few things out of these aluminum parts already, and I think it's okay once they get polished up, but anodizing would add just a nice step up in finish and durability. Haven't done it yet because it requires a wash station, the lye etching, acid bath, neutralizing the acid bath, a dye step, and then a sealing step. I knew it was going to take over the house. I also don't have water out here in the workshop, which makes things inconvenient. That's another big project that hopefully comes up this year. But still, I do want to give it a try. So, let's get started. I have two test parts prepared. One is a machining reject. The other one's just a little bit too short to make another part out of it. I have polished incompletely two sides of each of these parts. Trying to document what it looks like now, so when we see later we can see how the anodizing reacts with the different levels of polish on these faces. This one's uncut. I hope I'm capturing that pretty good. Okay. I'm going to try the lye etch on just one of these. Some people say it's really not optional as long as you get the parts clean. These have gone through a soap and water bath and then with a degreasing cleaner and a brush. But first step is to get this lye mixed up, so let's give that a shot and let it soak for a minute. Let me back up here. There's a lot of good guides on the internet, old school internet, YouTube videos, you name it. I printed out one of them from an outfit called North Branch Wheels. This one's from 2012, but it's well referred to. This gives us lots of actual hard data, quantified, showing what to expect, what concentrations to use, what voltage to use, all this good stuff for different conditions, different temperatures. It's not complete. You still need other tips and tricks type guides. I found that really useful. Wrote down the amounts of everything that I want to use. I have, I'm going to show you now, the shop here is set to 68 Fahrenheit. That seems to be a sweet spot for temperature. Everything here is temperature dependent when we're doing chemistry. The parts I use on the guitars tend to be long. They're really one-dimensional. So I got these long, shallow trays. These are standard food service trays, like you would see food brought out to a buffet. They come in standard sizes. I have standard lids coming for this, so when I'm done I can close this up, reuse the chemicals later. You need a stir stick. Here we go. Let's get clean one. That looks like a solution of some kind. Just a little deeper. Oh, look at the bubbles. Let's see. Try to get in closer. Sure looks like something's happening there. And I can smell it a bit. This reminds me, I meant to open both the windows here. Get some ventilation. Bins. Again, I wanted to keep things shallow. Use as little chemicals as I can. But if I set the parts on the flat bottom, I know the chemicals may not get on the bottom very well. I'm thinking ahead about how I can elevate them a little bit. Best way to do this is people actually suspend parts in tanks. Thought about doing that too. But anyway, most of these are more important one side than the other. So we're just going to start with a flat bottom and see how things go. It's settling down a little bit. Still doing its thing. Diluting this about 2 to 1 should give us just the right concentration. Almost done. Oops. Cathode, I'm using a scoop of lead. This is really available. I just have water for this time. Let it be a little dilute. Use all the acids for the first test. Turn both parts of the outside. Cover. Right. To achieve 4 amps, the power supply is requiring 15 volts. That should climb a bit as we go, as our oxide layer builds up. Now, because I diluted it some, let's see if we have a reference on that. Acid concentration. We went a bit low, but it's insensitive in that range. We should have been 15, we're probably under 10. Okay. To get a good layer on our alloy at this temperature, well, we can just keep going as far as we want. But an hour is generally good. So I'm going to set a timer and go do something else. Something else in this case is going to be preparing the dye solution. I'm going to use a smaller container for this than the eventual one because this stuff's a little expensive. I believe it's one shot, so I want to make the minimum amount. Let's see here. Can we one-hand this? Not really. Alright. This is about what I figured is a teaspoon for what I need. Let's see if a quart gets us deep enough. I think that's about right. Okay. That wants to be heated. They give an ideal range here somewhere. So we're going to get a thermometer out, get that set before I get the parts ready, but the parts have a ways to go. Here she is, a few minutes later, ticking away. Still got action going on. Something's happening. Nothing obvious on the parts, but I don't know if we should expect to see anything. Voltage went down a bit for now. Now, one thing I wonder about, how much is the acid being consumed in this step? Can I reuse this bath? Can I measure the acid? I know how to use a hygrometer for battery acid, but we're much different concentration than a normal battery. So your off-the-shelf hygrometer is not going to be in range for this, I don't think. If anyone has an idea, let me know. While it's going, we could prepare the baking soda, the basic solution to neutralize the acid. We shouldn't need a great deal of alkaline material here because the amount of acid coming over is only whatever's going to be left on the parts. So I'm going to put in that much. In case you're wondering why is my bag of baking soda in a bag, Amazon decided to put this soft pouch format product in a big loose paper bag with no other packing material, and then throw in something hard, my pack of lead strips, in the bag with it, and of course it's split open Baking soda spilled out all inside the larger bag. So that was free after I complained. But I wish they would just be smarter. It's interesting to see both the titanium wires are getting a tarnish color to them. I'm not sure what that reaction is. But it's good because it tells me that they are both carrying current and participating. That was a concern when I did this little jig here. The way she goes, we're going on 20 minutes. The final step in the whole process is to seal the pores in the parts by boiling. You can boil them in distilled water, but there's also sealing products that are supposed to help. And the sealant, ounce to a gallon, goes a long ways and reduces the need to be using distilled water. So I'm going to do this with tap water and use the sealant. Here we go. It's been an hour. Still seems to be working. We're at 12 volts, that leveled off. But that should be enough. So, let's move on. Looks like I planned that. Into the basic solution. This way. It's not quite covered up. I'm going to cheat a little bit. Okay, now they're covered up. Go a little while longer. All right. In there for a bit, a little gentle agitation. It really shouldn't be very much to neutralize. I'll call that good. Take that off first. Okay. Have a good rinse. There they are. I don't know if I showed you catch bucket for the drippings and the spray and rinse. Now we're back in the kitchen. We have dye up to temperature. Let the parts in there. And that needs a few minutes. I forget what it says, but we'll hold it there. It says whatever it says. Good old-fashioned meat thermometer. Hey now. I have a thermocouple set somewhere I should be using. I'll have to find that when I get in production. Maybe 150. But that's where we want to be. Now the sealant, that's amusing. Seal anodize parts for 5 to 30 minutes. You give me a range of a factor of 6. So we're going to go in the middle of that. But I need to get that a little more toward boiling. Turn it up some now. And let's wait some more. Just shy of 20 minutes in the goop here. Where's my part? There it is. Well, it looks black. We're going to give that just a quick rinse in hot tap water. Probably not necessary, but if I was doing different colors, I wouldn't want to mix them up. We're going to need more water in there. Where are you at? Somewhere in here. Alright, there's a challenge. We want to get that up quickly. Now another, you can be off. Get that hot. Just want to get that to simmering again and give it another 20 minutes. And then that should be good. Okay, here we are. Parts are done. Let's look at this. I'm not entirely sure now. I think this side and this side got the polish. Yeah. I can still see the imperfections in the polish. That's information. The finish isn't super glossy, but it's very black. That's quite effective. Now the factory finish side, you can still see the extrusion marks, a little bit of handling marks in it, but that's pretty attractive with no polish. I think this is the one that I etched. Let's see. Now this part, same thing, we can see the difference where it was really well polished versus not. Pretty good gloss where it's truly smooth. Here's the polished side. Yep. So I guess the lesson is the polish works, but you've got to be, if you really want high gloss on it, it's got to be pretty flawless. So it comes through in the plating. Okay, here's the factory side on the one that didn't get etched. You can still see some leftover schmutz that was on there. but also still very, very black. Side by side, it seems the etched one came out a little duller. The unetched one brighter, but you can see the incomplete polish on it a little better. Okay. So, all in all, that was without a doubt very effective. What have we learned? Anodizing aluminum really is a straightforward, relatively inexpensive process. A few dollars in chemicals. This brand new power supply was like $40, I think. These commercial trays are about 20 bucks a piece for good quality ones, but they're high quality industrial grade things, reusable. A little more in chemicals, plus the stuff inside. So the downside of this process, there's just a lot of steps. It takes up a lot of room. I have these chemicals to deal with now, to store and label. They're somewhat hazardous, so I got to think about that. But I'm thinking it's worth it. I'm gonna start getting some different colors and go to town on this. But the first unit up is gonna be a Black Beauty. Look out for that.